Okay, so you guys may have seen my YouTube community post earlier today. It was in regards to OJ Simpson and the fact that he passed away on April 10th. Now, what caused me to make this post was this morning I was Ubering myself to work, and the driver was tuned into this radio station, sports station. I don't remember the name of it. I tried to look at the screen, the Bluetooth screen radio. And it was some guy named Ryan Whitley or something, Masters 51, Ryan Whitley or something, I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't have the name of the actual station. But on it, they were discussing OJ Simpson and the fact that on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, I don't have it. I've never had an account on there, and I will still never have an account on there. I absolutely refuse because it's a cesspool, and it'll always be a cesspool. But apparently, hashtag complicated was trending. It was in the top 10, or maybe it was number 1. I don't know. But apparently that was trending, and it was in relation to O.J. Simpson and him dying. Because apparently somehow this is a complicated issue. Because, I guess, because he played such great football. Because he's considered one of the greatest football players of all time. Now, I'm not a football fan. I don't watch football at all. I don't give a fuck about football, to be really honest. But apparently by football fans, he's considered to be one of the greatest football players of all time. He was a running back, I believe. I may be butchering that, but he was, and played on the Buffalo Bills for the most part. But he's considered by football fans to be an all-time great. And I guess, according to this guy that I was listening to on this station, both of these guys, because he was such a great football player, that somehow erases what he did. Now, I know that O.J. Simpson was found not guilty, that he was innocent of murdering his wife. Right. And Jeffrey Epstein totally killed himself. And, Chris Benoit, we don't really know what happened. We don't really know what happened. It was actually probably Kevin Sullivan that did it. Hillary Clinton didn't obstruct justice by deleting those emails. No, totally not. Totally no. And so on and so forth. Everyone knows that OJ did it. He did an interview talking about it. And in this interview, when he is talking about what happened, he starts laughing at one point and seems downright jovial about the whole thing. Now, I don't know about you, but a man who just lost his wife probably wouldn't be acting that way when talking about the fact that his wife was murdered. And so, to anyone with any ounce of common sense, to anyone with a rational mind, you could probably say that, yeah, OJ did this. He murdered his wife. And like I said, everyone knows he did it. And if people actually think he didn't, then they're incredibly, again, naive and lacking in common sense and rationale and so on and so forth. Now, the situation does remind me a lot of the Chris Benoit situation, who I just referenced. Because Chris Benoit was a phenomenal wrestler, like phenomenal in-ring talent, had great matches, had a bunch of accomplishments, was a great wrestler. Arguably some would say one of the best, maybe in the top 10 in terms of in-ring work. And that's great. But none of that matters ultimately because it doesn't change the fact that he murdered his wife and his 7-year-old son. Now, some people want to try to whitewash that and try to minimize that by bringing up his wrestling career and the fact that he was respected and liked by a bunch of other wrestlers when he was still alive. And they want to create conspiracy theories to try to wave away somehow what Chris Benoit did because they don't want to accept the truth of what happened. And they also want to argue that he still belongs in the WWE Hall of Fame and deserves to be honored to some degree. And that's bullshit. Yes, he may have been a fantastic wrestler, maybe one of the best, again, in terms of in-ring talent. But it doesn't matter, though, because what he did in the end erases anything that he may have accomplished. It erases any talent that he may have had in that ring. And look, you can, and this is, I don't mean to get on Chris Benoit here, this is about OJ Simpson, but, you know, whether it's Chris Benoit, whether it's OJ Simpson, or anyone in this same sort of scenario, you can enjoy what they did. You can appreciate what they did, whether it's football or pro wrestling. Like, you can appreciate the matches or the games that they were in and look back on them and enjoy them and watch them and appreciate them and appreciate the talent and stuff. It's kind of a separating the art from the artist sort of thing, I guess you could say. But no matter how good of a wrestler Chris Benoit was, and no matter how good of a football player OJ Simpson may have been, it doesn't erase what they fucking did. And I don't care how good of a football player OJ Simpson was. It doesn't change the fact that he fucking murdered his wife, and he fucking got away with it. And that makes it even worse. And yet there are people who are saying that it's a complicated issue, that it's, a complicated issue, like, we shouldn't speak ill of the dead, and, it's all over with now, so maybe we should go easy a little bit, and all this bullshit. And, and to touch on one thing really quickly, that don't speak ill of the dead thing, that's something I've never understood. Like, I understand it, but I don't, like, why? Why can't we speak ill of the dead? If we can't speak ill of the dead, okay, then that means we can no longer criticize Hitler, Stalin, Charles Manson, any serial killer ever, Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy. We can't criticize any of these serial killers, would-be dictators, want-to-be dictators. None of these people can be criticized ever again because we shouldn't speak ill of the dead, right? Any child molester, child rapist, or rapist in general should never be spoken ill of again because they're dead, right? No, bullshit. It astounds me how many people can't put themselves in the shoes of certain people. Like, I'm sure that the family of the wife, of O.J. Simpson's wife, probably wouldn't look on O.J. Simpson with fond memories and wouldn't honor him as a human being because of what he did. Same thing with, the families of Nancy Benoit and Daniel. Their family and everyone who cared about them and loved them aren't going to view Chris Benoit as a saint of a human being because of what he did. Or if it was your family or friend or child that was murdered, you probably wouldn't feel the same way. You probably wouldn't be so quick to defend someone just because they happen to be really, really good at their chosen profession. And it just astounds me that this can even be a debate. Ain't shit complicated. Nothing's complicated. O.J. Simpson was a piece of shit as a human being. He fucking killed his wife. And if there is a hell, if a hell does exist, rest assured, he is rotting down there right now. And this fucking idiot fucking person on this radio talk show, admitted that he made a fucking tweet saying, "Rest in peace, O.J. Simpson." Heaven just gained an amazing, whatever position he played, I forget at the moment. But yeah, heaven gained, rest in peace. Attempting to honor him as a human being. And that guy can go fuck himself. And he got rightfully called out. And he tried to, shit talk the person that called him out and wave it off and try to throw his own little insults in. But whatever, dude. You're defending a murderer. You're eulogizing and, glorifying someone who murdered their wife, murdered their partner. The person that they're supposed to love and care about and have the best interests for and all that. So, again, it doesn't, I can't comprehend that mindset. I can't comprehend excusing something like that because I personally enjoy what they did. I mean, it's like Stephen King, for example, okay? I love Stephen King. Stephen King is probably the reason why I love the horror genre today. But if it were to come out that Stephen King had been running a child sex trafficking ring, and he were to get arrested for it and brought to justice, and then finally when the day comes that he would pass away, you know what I'd be like? I wouldn't be saying, rest in peace, Stephen King. You know, heaven gained a fucking great author. I would be like, you know what? As an author, the man was a genius. I loved his work. He was a phenomenal writer. But as a person, absolute piece of shit. Hopefully he burns in hell, if there is one, and suffers for all eternity for what he hypothetically did. Same thing with Roman Polanski. Roman Polanski, phenomenal director, Rosemary's Baby, a beloved classic film in the horror genre, all right, and among other films. I mean, the guy is a great director, good at what he does, has contributed a lot to the film industry. Doesn't change the fact that he's a fucking pedophile who sodomized a 13-year-old. So, fuck him too, as a human being. He's a fucking piece of shit. And it's the same way with OJ Simpson. You know, and I think that, you know, the cancer that got him, you know, I think it was karma for the fact that OJ Simpson was a bit of a bad, naughty boy for what he did. And some people might find that to be in poor taste, but you know what? Don't you think it was in poor taste for him to do what he did? Don't you think that murdering your significant other is in poor taste? Don't you think that going onto an interview and laughing about the situation afterwards is in poor taste? Don't you think that despite all that, going onto whatever social media site that you're posting on and attempting to humanize this person or to honor him as a human being is in poor taste? Don't you think it's in poor taste to anyone who was affected by that personally? Yeah, I think that's all in poor taste. And no, I don't feel bad about saying that. He got fucking cancer. Good. He deserved to get fucking cancer. And I hope that he suffered until the very end for what he did. Because ultimately he didn't even have to suffer the consequences for it. He got off. And so the cancer was a just punishment for that. Yeah, I don't feel bad about saying that at all. And again, that whole speaking ill of the dead. Like I said, if there's a fucking hell, he is burning in it. And I hope he suffers for all fucking eternity. Same thing with Chris Benoit. And anyone else who fits that scenario. So, yeah. I think that's about all I have to say on this topic. You know, but I guess in closing, don't be like these. Don't be like this. You know, again, you can appreciate what someone did in their own profession. You can appreciate the fact that they were talented at their own profession. Like, you can be a fan of them as a person for their profession. It doesn't mean that you have to combine the actual human being and them as a professional together. You can separate the two. Again, separating the art from the artist. And especially in situations like this. Because people like that, people like OJ Simpson, don't deserve to be honored as a human being in death. You know, I mean, good fucking riddance. They deserve nothing but fucking spite and the absolute worst. But people like that don't deserve to have however many people on fucking social media saying rest in peace. You know, truly good people pass away every fucking day. And from the same illness, no less. They don't get thousands, hundreds of thousands, however many, saying rest in peace on social media. But a piece of shit like OJ Simpson does. And that's a fucking travesty. So, that's it. Done with this one. And try to have a good day. Peace.